go. All right, I should be recording. Probably sound like a fool now, so it's all good. Recording. Boom. All right, here we go. So I'm going to walk through step number one. Step number one is a quick chart analysis. So I think AMD may have some viable activity, so I'm going to take a look at the chart. I look at the chart by simply typing in symbol AMD in the symbol box. Fortunately, it's already up on my chart, so I'm ahead of the game. I look at the chart. Right now, I have a 1 year, 1 day chart. When I look at a 1 year, 1 day chart, I'm looking at a 1 year, 1 day chart because I may do something over a series of weeks, months, or the year, depending on what kind of position I want to take on that particular symbol, if I want to take a position at all. So the first thing I do when I look at a chart is I'm trying to determine how it's been doing over this past year every day. And so when I look at it, I can see that for several months it's been pretty much sideways, and then all of a sudden it got to the month of September, October of 2019, and it's been on a very bullish trend since then. And so what I'm going to do, just for my own visual acuity, I'm going to pick a point on my chart, get my mouse to work. I'll do it that way. And I'm going to draw my little trend line. There we go. So that's my bullish trend. Then I can see something happen all of a sudden once it got to that high, this highest high ever in the past year of 59.27. I can see, oh wow, something happened. Now let's just say I didn't know about coronavirus and all this other stuff in February, then I would have to investigate what happened if I wanted to. Because normally there is something that's happened in the market that makes tremendous drops like that. It's either some sort of announcements or what have you. We all know what's happened in the market, so I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, AMD's been pretty bullish. It got hit like everything else. It dropped down pretty significantly. Then I noticed it has dropped down and kind of hovered in an area where it's been before. So just for my visual acuity, once again, I'm going to put some visuals there so I can see where that's at. So I put another line. I love lines that intersect. That means there's a past and a present history that they've known each other before. It's kind of like, oh man, haven't you seen her before? Oh yeah, she was a hoe. Keep on moving. All right. So anyway, that's just my dry humor. Anyway, I'm looking at AMD, but I do think like that when I'm looking at chart. Believe it or not, I apply the same
I think I'm
principles.
wearing them down. I'm wearing them down.
I apply the same principles right there. Okay. All right. So anyway, so basically, because of this dramatic drop, it's dropped about 20 points from its highest high, so $20 over a 2 month period, just about almost 2 month period. And how do I feel about it? It's like it's been pretty sideways, similar to this trend over here. When there is uncertainty, it's pretty stable and steady around a certain point. And then when they believe, hey, it's doing something significant for its industry, et cetera, then it seems to climb. And then around earnings, it didn't have a significant impact, even though it was maybe 1 penny above. I'll look at the earnings. That's what this little blue item is. It said it had an estimate of 0.316 and it made 3.2. So it exceeded its earnings target, paid its little dividend because it's a positive green number over there. So it was doing pretty decently. And it's a stock that's in the, been trading average in the $20 to $40 range, and it's on the NASDAQ. So it's pretty solid as a company. Now I could go into a whole bunch of other details, but I don't need to. So right now I just need to determine, do I want to do anything with AMD? Do I like where it's currently at? So I'll look up and say, okay, what did it last trade for when the market was open? So it last traded for 48.38. So 48.38, somewhere right there at that bottom, boom, where it closed. See this little red candlestick? That was the last day. And the bottom of that candlestick is where it closed. And during that day, it had a pretty decent movement. Let's see what it do. So 38, 48. So it moved like a dollar and some cents. So that wasn't bad. Um, and this had some significant moves the prior 3 days, which is normal. Everybody knew the market was going to close for Friday, for Good Friday. And so, it just, it still didn't go lower than its previous, look, it went lower than its previous high, but that's okay. So what do I want to do? I still think AMD is bullish. However, I know that there's a possibility that if it did have some bad news, which would be earnings that are coming up here in April, that it could possibly drop back down into where it had been in this 39.50 range. So, so as I think about it, I take two positions in my mind. My mind is, how aggressive am I to do AMD considering the cost? And what do I want to do with AMD considering the cost? So I'll look at a couple of things before I make that decision. I'm going to go over to my trade tab and I'm going to put in AMD so I can see what the options look like on AMD for the next 45 to 60 days. So I have a 35-day option. I know they're going to have earnings in April. So let's look at that one first. I won't usually do one that short, but let's look at that one first. I may have some value in that. So a $48 call, if I'm bullish, costs me somewhere around $4. So $4 cost me somewhere around $4. All right, that'll give me, so $4, that cost me $400 for 100 shares of AMD. Um, and so that'll put me at 52.10 or something thereof. So so in my mind, so I'm adding the cost of what I have to pay for it, the premium, to the strike price. The strike price is basically the price where I'm saying anything above, if the underlying stock goes above, anywhere above 48, I'm supposed to get paid. However, I have to make up what I paid for it, which is that additional $4.10. So if I add those two together, my break even point is 52.10. And so that means it has to hit 52.10 just to zero me out. And then everything above 52.10 will be my gravy. So then I go back to the chart and I'll say 52.10 is around here. It's right there, somewhere right there. And I will see that since it last fell, it's been there. It's tried to come back there, but it hasn't been back there yet. However, on the last trading day, it was pretty close to 52.10. So the probability in my mind that I'll be able to at least hit the break even is pretty strong in the next few days or so, unless something dramatic happens. Now, the only dramatic thing that could happen is earnings come out and they don't do well. And if they don't do well, then I could buy some insurance to hedge my bets, meaning I could buy a put option at 49 or 52 or 55 or one or the other, to basically say if it doesn't, that I don't believe it's ever going to get back to its highest high in the next 35 days. And so therefore, if this one doesn't make it, I'll cover it on the other end. I could do that. This is all still activity number one. Activity number one is quick chart analysis. So I'm making all of these decisions. The fact that I had to go and look at all these different things suggests to me that I'm not that interested in AMD right now, because I didn't immediately want to spend $48 for AMD. I didn't immediately want to spend $6 or $4 per share for an option. So the fact that I haven't made a decision in the I don't know how long I've been talking, but probably too long for my own good. Um, Means that I'm not very interested in AMD, and I would look at another symbol for the sake of just looking at another symbol. So I look at something I don't own that's probably reasonable, as none of those are reasonable. Let's see. Let's sort by last. So what I just did is double click on my last column so I could see the lowest to highest, basically the lowest to highest cost. Uh, oh, I like Juniper. Let's look at Juniper. Oh yeah, I was looking at them the other day anyway. Well, they've already come back up. Let's see where they've been. Highest they've been is 28. Not very sexy, but I like Juniper. It's sideways. It'll probably come back to it sideways, but it's not a lot in it either. So I look at it, I'm not particularly interested in it, um, unless I wanted to just own me some Juniper. General Motors, Twitter. Look at Twitter. No, not really interested in it. It is not interested in that. Oh, let me look at PCG. What do they look like today? Oh, they're all over the place. Now, look at that guy. Pacific Gas and Electric. Hmm. Yeah, it's cheaper than AMD. I'm not particularly interested. Nothing is saying, "Oh, buy me right now" or "sell me right now." Nothing. Nothing is just screaming at me. Let's look at Fitbit. Woo! Take a nice jump into the sky at $7, and they've been sideways ever since. Nope, not really getting my attention. IQ. No. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, now that's interesting. Mm. Mm. So I had a nice little bullish trend starting in September, October, went up as high as 27. Now it's at 17. The spread is $10 where AMD was $20. Mm, Probably the options are cheaper though. Let's see. IQ. Oh, that's not IQ. Got to be able to type. IQ. Options $3. It's relatively in the same ballpark. All right. So right now, what I'm looking for is value, immediate, quick value. I'm not committed to anything. Immediate, quick value that I really want to do. Obviously, I haven't got anything that really got my attention yet. AMD at 48 is high. I know it's high because I've had AMD before, but it's high from the standpoint of if I only had a $2,000 or $5,000 account, I probably don't want to have a $4 a share option. I surely don't want to pay $48 a share because then that'll be less trades I can make. I probably want an option to somewhere $1, $2 on something that's got some high value that's going to return relatively quickly with some volatility. Um, but since nothing is just really appealing to me, or ACB, I haven't done them in a while, but they're a cannabis stock. They're 87 cents, really? Wow. Man, I had them when they were like $13 or something. Man, okay. Chrome is $5, really? That's another cannabis stock. They're so volatile. Anyway, all right. So this is how I analyze charts. So MJ is a ETF of all of the cannabis stocks. You have to look up ETF on your own. You should already know what it is. If you don't, this lesson doesn't cover it. But anyway, basically, its activity is a demonstration of how all cannabis is doing, and obviously, it's doing a downward trend. So, and it has been for several months because I used to own them all. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to AMD, and I'm just gonna bite the bullet for the sake of this argument. I'm gonna go to AMD. So now I'm going back to AMD. I'm gonna make a move on it. I'm bullish on AMD, by the way. I'm gonna make a move on AMD. So I'm gonna open up my little. Oh, I wonder will it show you this? Tell me, do you see this now?
Yeah,
Okay, you see that on my screen? The Excel workbook?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm bullish on AMD. I'm going to try to look at this side by side. So AMD is right now at 48. Right now at 48. So um, if I want to immediately get into AMD, I could say buy at 48. I don't know what it's going to do when the market opens on Monday. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. What did it do last Monday? I can go back and say, okay, well, last Monday. So that was Thursday, Friday. I mean, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. It had a big jump last Monday. What did it do the Monday before that? So that's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Not much of anything. Monday before that had another big jump. So it seemed like every other Monday had a big jump for whatever reason. Nobody knows. Maybe there was still some orders that hadn't gotten filled yet, but they're all in the same range where you see these big candlesticks. But just for the sake of the argument, I'm going to say that I can enter AMD at $48. And I'm going to target AMD to reach most definitely $59. $59. And that's what I'm going to target them. And so if AMD drops to half of that, right? And so let me see. I'm going to actually do a stock purchase. So let me get my spreadsheet. I'm going to do a stock purchase. So I'm going to put in my trade date, which is today is 041020. I'm putting my ticker, AMD. The current stock price is 48.38. I'm going to do a single trade, and I'm going to do my single trade if it will accept it at 48 bucks. And I'm going to buy 100 shares at 48 bucks. That's going to cost me $4,800. All right. And then so max I can lose on that trade is 2,400 bucks. Somebody's got some background noise. What's that? Okay.
I was moving my computer. My bad.
Yeah. So mute. All right. Unless you're talking. All right. There we go. So this is my setup. I'm going to go do a trade on AMD today. Its current stock price is 48.38. I'm going to buy it at 48 if my order gets filled, and I'm going to ride it until it hits 59, and I'm going to make $11 a share. 11 times 100, that'll be my profit on AMD. It'll cost me 4,800 bucks. That's my decision. So now I've done step number 1, step number 2, and step number 3. Any questions about any of that? I made a decision. There we
Hey,
go.
this is Daryl. When you were doing your charting, can you go back to your chart screen real quick?
I'm
When
still
you
here.
pick the vertical line, I mean the horizontal line, what was your deciding factor on that area right there, that line that you picked?
So I was looking at this history where it was in this bullish trend,
Uh-huh.
and I was trying to find a point that had a significant green candlestick
Ah, mhm.
that aligned, with where this bottom
Drop.
had dropped. And so
Okay.
that let me know that there was a lot of interest at this point, and that wasn't anything to do with earnings. That was true interest because that's a significant size bar. I mean candlestick. And so therefore, that's some weight, and that weight kept pushing upward, and then it had another weight. He went up here, right? And then it kind of went sideways and had a little weighty drop, but it didn't drop back below where it had been. It still stayed within that trend, and then it picked up some more weight and rolled up. But that was all due to earnings. All of this activity here was due to earnings, and so therefore I expect that that it gets up here, then they're waiting for earnings, and so you start to see it drop, and then earnings come, and then it does a quick shoot up, and then it shoots up progressively as people get on board. And you can see each of these candlesticks are very significant until we hit the coronavirus economy bump, right? So,
Hmm.
so the reason for this horizontal line was to find the largest candlestick, green candlestick, that was giving this momentum some weight. And then it happened to just so happen to align with these drops here. Because like I said, the part that matters is the filled in part, right? Not the top, it's high and it's low for that day. So basically, if you look at it, it's constantly hitting that line, then bouncing up. And if it drops again, I would expect it to hit that line and bounce up again because it's already been there. It's come there once, came back there twice, now it's there a third time. And that's why that line is there. So that was my point. Now, if I wanted to wait longer on AMD, I would have made my entry point 39.50. That's what I would have done. But I don't want to wait longer. Uh, I could put in another position for 39.50. So if it drops to 39.50, I'll buy another 100 shares. But right now, for the sake of this discussion, I'm doing a simple setup. I'm making a decision. My decision is I'm bullish on AMD. I'm gonna buy it at 48, and I'm gonna sell it at 59, and I'm gonna make $11, and I'm gonna go on about my business.
So
Any
that's just
questions?
one you're just going to hold.
Say again.
That's just one you're just going to hold. Just hold it and
Yeah, it's going to go to It's going to go to $59. Maybe it goes to 52, and I decide to take some out of it, whatever. But I'm saying my target is 59, so I can
okay.
hold it till it hits 59. And once again, if it's me, I'd probably put in another position at 39.50 just in case it drops back down to that line, and then I'll just add another 100 shares, and then instead of making $1,100, I make 2,200 bucks. So, but that it hasn't gotten there yet, but I'll look at that during, when I look at my positions periodically during the course of the months. I can, so basically when I start talking about alerting, then you'll see that part. But for right now, I just wanted to do a setup, right? So the process is number one, I looked at the chart. I wasn't particularly sold on it particularly. Um, so I looked at some other charts. I looked at what my potential was in options. I wasn't particularly sold on that either. Because of the size of my particular account, I don't want to wait until I reach my break even point. I'm willing to take less percentage profitability by buying the shares as opposed to being able to get in cheaper so I can do more trades and hold. So therefore, I'm just going to take a simple route. Next route, I'll do option route. Right now, in this example, I'm going to show you a stock route. So I made a decision. My decision is I'm going to go with AMD. I'm bullish on AMD. That hasn't changed. I made that decision from the beginning. I'm bullish on AMD. All right. Am I going to invest in AMD? I decided yes, I will. So then what did I do? I recorded my proposed set. My proposed set is I'm gonna enter at 48. I'm gonna exit at 50. I'm gonna target for 59, and it automatically calculated what my stop would be is at 2,400 bucks. So my maximum loss is $2,400 on this trade. That's the most I could ever lose. I already know before I get into it. I know everything I need to know before I get into it. I know I'm gonna do it. I know where I'm gonna do it at. I know what I'm gonna get out of it, and I know what I could lose before I even make the trade. Any questions about that? So that's steps number 1, 2, and 3 have been completed.
And you said your stop, it added up automatically?
On the spreadsheet that I gave you all, it
Yeah,
calculated.
yeah.
I put in 48, 59. Then when I put in the stock price and the number of shares, it calculated my stop automatically. It's a
Okay.
formula. It's a formula in that cell. You see, take number, this cell and this cell, multiply them, and then multiply that total by 50, and that's give you 50%. All right, but that's not what that's not what this discussion is about. So this is about the process. So, all right. All right, so I did step number 1, number 2, number 3. Now step number 4 is buy the stock. All right, I want to buy a stock. So in my TD Ameritrade platform, I go to the trade tab. And what I'm going to quickly do on my trade tab is I'm going to turn off a bunch of stuff that I don't want to see right now for the sake of simplicity. All right. So I go to the trade tab. Every time you go to the trade tab and you put a symbol in, this option chain is going to expand itself, even if you're not buying options. That's okay. I have to put in the symbol that I want to actually trade. So I put in AMD. All right, now it's opened up AMD. I'm not buying any options for AMD right now, so I don't need to see that. I just simply collapse that out of my way. I am buying the underlying, and I said I want to do a trade based upon my set. I want to buy AMD, and I want to buy it at $48. So I'm just going to click on the ask price, which is $48.98, and it's going to bring up a trade down here. Everybody see that? That is a yes.
Yeah.
All right. So it brings up the trade down there. I want to buy the stock. I want to buy 100 shares. It should be plus 100 shares. I want to buy this symbol, AMD, and I want to buy it at $48. That means I'm putting in a limit order, and I'm going to put that order in is good till cancel, GTC. And it can use any exchange it wants to go ahead and execute that order. And so I'm gonna click confirm and send. It's gonna tell me it's cost me $48 plus 0 commission. My total cost is $4,800. Blah blah blah. Impact on my buying power, et cetera, et cetera. And I send the order. That order is now. I'll go to the monitor tab. Since the market is closed, that order is a working order. So I'll see right here on today, 4/10 at 13:40:35, a stock buy order was submitted for 100 shares to open on AMD at a $48 per share limit, which is good to cancel, and the current selling price is $48.95. So I know my order is there, sitting there waiting. I'm gonna go back to the chart tab. I'm gonna show you something else. If I wanted to order directly from the chart tab, I could just right click on this last selling price and say buy, and it immediately open up an order. Then I can place the order right there. Did everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So if you're trying to look at something and you made your decision, etc., you go straight to the chart, right click on it, say buy, then set up your order with all the same statistics, just like you did on the trade tab. Now, since I've placed the order, you see now on my chart, my order is sitting there waiting. Now, if I wanted to change the price that I'm buying it at, I could move this up or down to change where I want to buy it at. You see the price changing as I move it up and down?
Yeah.
All right. So it gives you all that flexibility. And then it asks you if you want to do it or not. You say no. And you
That's
leave. Right? So you can make those adjustments on the fly just like that. So there's many ways to do the same thing, basically is what I'm showing you. But for all intents and purposes, I've just submitted a trade that will not cancel out, meaning it'll sit there waiting to be filled for the market to, somebody say, yes, I want to sell it to you at that price. And then once they say, yes, I want to sell it to you at that price, then you'll have an active ownership of those 100 shares. Any question about that?
yes. You had to stop at 2,400. Where did you put that at?
I have said nothing about no stop. I'm saying only talking about buying the stock. Any question about
Okay.
how to buy the stock?
All right.
Any question about how to buy stock? Anybody?
No.
All right. You can do it from the chart. You can do it from the trade tab. You can adjust it once you do it directly from the chart. I've shown you all of that. That's how you submit a stock buy. After you make your decision that you're going to do something, you define it in writing, meaning you create your set, your stop, your entry, your target, and then you go and enter the trade. Now, I have not at any point set up my target, nor have I set up my stop, but I have set up my point to enter into that position. Yeah? All right. So I'm going to stick with the list and then I'll go back and do other things. So the next step, so that's step number 4. So I have charted, done a quick chart analysis. I made a decision that I wanted to actually trade. I recorded my setup for the trade. Now, based upon my second, so based upon my setup, I went and actually executed the stock buy. All right, so that's step number 4. Now, I'm gonna take that same information and I'm gonna turn it into an option, meaning I'm not gonna erase this trade. I'm gonna buy these 100 shares and I'm also gonna buy the equivalent of an option. So I'm gonna go back to the trade tab. I'm going to expand the option chain. I'm going to give myself, do I want to be in AMD position for 70 days? Not necessarily, but that's the only next expiration date that's over 35. And so therefore, and I don't want a weekly option, and I won't even get into what happens with weekly options, but I don't want a weekly option. I want an option that expires on the time frame that I want. So I'm gonna take this June 19th option, and that's what I want. And my set is no different. My set is I want to enter at $48. Okay. So I want a strike price that's $48. There it is right there. That's what I said I wanted to buy. That longer option cost me even more money. Do I want to do that? Well, I can look at the delta and say, okay, for every dollar, I'm gonna get 58 cents, etc. I can go back here. I can do all kind of, back and forth debate. It's the same. This one's the same. Do I believe it's going to reach my 58 before my 59 and 30 before May 15th? It could. So depending on how cheap I was, I'll take this one because I can always roll it over. I'll do this one. I'll do the May 15th. It's not my time frame, and so therefore violating that rule may bite me in the butt, but I can take the risk. It's okay. So I want to buy a call because call means if I buy a call, it means I'm bullish. Because right now I'm doing step number 5, buy an option. So I'm buying an option on AMD. I'm bullish of AMD. I believe it's going to go from 48 to 59. That'll make up my headroom because my break even is 52. So I'm fine. The midpoint between these two, so that's 15, 25 cents. So 15, I'm going to make my price $4. So I click on the ask price. It brings up a single option order to buy one contract, which is equivalent to 100 shares of AMD that expire on the 15th of May. The strike price is $48. That means I believe that the stock will rise above $48 and everything above that will be to my favor. The type of option it is a call. Calls mean you're bullish. When you go long call, you're bullish. And the price I want to pay, I don't want to pay $4.10. I want to pay $4. I think that's a fair price. Basically, I'm splitting the difference between $3.95 and $4.10. And I say, I'm going to make that good to cancel. I'm going to make that good to cancel. And I'm going to submit my order, review it. You see right here, it tells you immediately your break-even price is $52, right? That's that 48 plus that 4 equals 52. That means you zero out. You don't lose, you don't win, but everything above 52 is gravy. Your profitability is actually infinite with this option. So not only, even though you've established a target of 59, you'll make, as long as this underlying stock price is going above 52, you make money. All right. Your maximum loss is $400, which is 4 times 100. So $4 a share times 100 shares is $400. Way cheaper. I could buy a lot more of these, right? So I could buy a lot more of those with what I spent on the other one. So let's look at that combination. So if I took the same buying power and I offered them, assumably, $4 a share, and I was already willing to spend $4,800, then it's only $400 per contract, right? Now I could do 10 contracts, 10 contracts for the amount, meaning that I would have 10 times 100 or 1,000 shares under my control of the same underlying stock. Now I can have 1,000 shares, same break even point. Now I have 1,000 times the power for the same amount of money. And everybody would say, well, why wouldn't you always do that? Well, there isn't any reason you wouldn't always do that other than the fact that you got to at least get to your break even point so you can start making money, and you're limited to your expiration. So if you don't believe it's going to make that significant kind of move over time, then you may not want to wait that and invest the same amount of money. However, if I wanted to, at least have the same 100 shares, I could get them for $400 instead of 4,000. So I'm gonna show you that example. I'm going to do this one, which is 10 contracts. I'm gonna send it. All right. So now I've bought an option. I'm gonna go to the monitor tab. Now you'll see I have a single, no spread, 10 contracts. AMD expires 15th of May 2020. Strike price $48 call. It's a limit, meaning they have to fill my order at $4 or less. And I'll wait until the market opens and see how I do. I go back to my chart, and now you see I've got 2 orders on there, multiple orders on there. Any question about that? Now I've just bought an option. Anybody have any question?
Hmm.
All right.
Made a lot more sense to me.
What'd you say?
It made a lot more sense to me. I understood it a little better.
Okay,
So,
great.
I had lost my internet connection.
Are you saying something, Derek?
I said I had lost my internet connection for a moment. I
Yeah,
don't know what.
I saw you bouncing around, so you'll have to watch the video. I gotta keep
Shit,
going because we got to get to you guys. All right.
that's
So let me go back here, right? So what I just did is I made another trade. So I need to record that trade, right? Before I move on. So I can have that. And I did it on the same symbol. It's a different kind of trade. The price is the same. It was a single trade. Where's contracts? 10 shares, 1,000. Price $4. Now, what is target?
it's infinite.
Exactly. It is infinite in this instance, right? However, you still need a target. So if my target is $59, right? Somebody's making noise. Go on mute if you're not talking. If my target is $59 and I say I want to get to $59, then is that the option price target or is that the underlying stock price target? It's the underlying stock price target. However,
Yes.
there's an equivalent of target for the option. So right now it's selling 48. So right now it's selling a $48 option at $4. What's the percentage difference between 48 and 59?
$11.
Percentage difference. What is it? Not the what
Oh,
percent is difference, right? Anyway, I'm just going to put $59 and come back there. We'll do a math class later. Okay? I'll
okay.
tell you. But this number is not $59. This number would be a different number. And we'll talk about that later, but that's not on my list, so I don't have time to do that. But you have to be able to calculate that because your multiples of profitability have now extrapolated by 1,000%, right? Because on the other one, you're only going to have 100 times the number. On this one, you're going to have 1,000 times the number. So that's why options profitability, when if you look at the 10 perspective trade tab, that 366% seems like, oh, how is that possible? Well, it's very possible when you think about what the S&P and other things have done in the market over the time. It's done thousands of percent. So anyway, but that's not what this discussion is about. But you'll need to learn that. And so we'll talk about that more if we have time. But I'm just trying to get through these steps. So, all right, I've done a quick analysis. I made a decision. I recorded my set. I bought my stock and I bought my option. Yeah, I've done all those things. So what's next? I want to sell my stock. Okay. So let's assume I want to sell my stock in the context of I made my money on the stock on the trade that I already put in, and I want to sell it. So I'll go to my trade tab, put in my symbol, which is AMD. I want to go to my underlying, and I want to say, hey, I'm trying to sell. So then I click on the bid, and that brings up a sell order. And I want to sell minus 100. That means I want to sell 100 of AMD. It's a stock. And I want to sell it at, what's my target? $59. And I'm going to submit that order. It'll be sitting there, and it's good until it's filled. So I'm going to go here, confirm my order. That means I will get a credit of $5,900. $5,900 is my credit for selling it for $59 per share. Only reason it's saying that is because my buy order hasn't been filled yet. But once they've both been filled, then it will see, and then my buy will turn into a sale immediately, and they'll be on the chart. But that's for another discussion because we're doing all this stuff after market. But you can see right here at the bottom, I have a buy and a sell on the same symbol. We go back to the chart, and you'll see there's a buy down here and a sell up there. So now basically what I put in is my entry, my E, and my T for my stock buy. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Any question? Anybody?
Nope.
All right, now I want to sell an option. So I'm going to go back. I want to sell my call. I'm going to sell my call for more money than what I paid for it. So let me see more strike prices just to give myself an example. I don't want to have all, that's too many. 14? No, that's not enough. Can I just do 20? Okay, so I'm going to sell my option. So I'm going to click on the bid side. It's going to bring up an option sale. It's going to sell. Right now it defaults to -1. Now, I can either sell all 10, or I can say, you know what? If it hits my target, just sell 80%. So I'll sell 8. That'll still leave me with 2 contracts or 200 shares that I can see if it's going to do anything else with. So I'll just do my 80%. And the number is going to be somewhere around $11.95 per share. That's what it's going to be. And I'll go through all that another time. But anyway, so I'm going to sell 8 contracts, which is 800 shares, and I'm going to sell 800 shares at $11.95. So 800 shares at $11.95, right? Go here. So I'm going to sell 800 times 11.95 equals So those eight contracts are going to make me $9,500. How much did I pay for those options? $4,000. And I still have 200 shares left. What a bargain. All right. Anyway, I just did that for effect. So right there, it tells me, boom. See where it says break even? 59.95, right? That's what my target was, $59. I just added the 95 cents because I love a little bit of change. All right. So basically, the target for $59 is the $11 difference. There you go. All right. I just sold my option. Now you see I have my sell orders, one for an option, one for a stock. I have my buy orders, one for an option, one for a stock, all on AMD. So for all intents and purposes, I have set up my entry and my target. And the only thing I haven't done at this point is set up my stops. And I haven't set up my stops because if I set up my stops right now, the market could open on Monday. It could immediately drop down to my stop and take me out of the trade. Meaning it could enter me in and then immediately after that drop down, take me out of trade. And then now I have to start all over. And by the time I start all over, the prices have just changed and fluctuated. And it's nothing I can do. Any question about that? So at this point, I've done steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's just that straightforward. All right. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of things, which is number 8 and number 9. So a couple of things I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go to number 8. Number 8 is order types. So if you noticed when we purchased a stock or an option, I'm going to click on ask, you get all this order details. And one of the items is the type of order. So and our orders have been limit orders. And what that means is I will only enter that trade at the price that I've identified, or I will only exit that trade at the price that I identified. Now, based upon what you've identified, it can exit you a little bit higher, or it can enter you a little bit lower than the price that you identified, but it can never enter you higher than the price that you've identified, and it can never exit you lower than the price that you identified on a limit trade. A market order market order type means that, hey, listen, I just want to get in the trade. And so whatever the market is trading at the time when the market opens, just get me in. And then it'll just automatically get you in for whatever number of shares you're trying to get or contracts you're trying to get based on the market rate at that time. That means you have absolutely no control with how much it's going to be when you get in. A stop is just that. A stop means it'll put in a stop order that says, hey, if it hits this target, stop this trade, get me out. Stop is usually, your safety net. There's another type that you can do a stop and a limit all together. So you put in your limit where you want to enter and your stop at the same time. As I said, I don't do that anymore. I learned the lesson very early on because I got in a trade and I had my whole thing set up and I put in my stop and my entry and my target just like I was taught to do. And it entered me in right where I wanted to be. And then a few minutes later, it took me out. And then right after that, it went right up to my target within no time. And I was pissed, right? Now, you got a trailing stop. Trailing stops are based on percentages, meaning you can do a trailing stop and a limit order together, or you can just put in a trailing stop, which means basically you use trailing stops that when your position is moving toward profitability, meaning let's just say, hey, I'm in a position and I'm up, say $500, and you'd be happy with $500, but you believe your position is still going to move in the direction that you want to go. You could put in a trailing stop, which is a percentage saying, hey, if it falls, in percentage below whatever number it's at, then take me out and then it'll take your profitability. Those are some tricky little mathematical things that when you get more advanced, you can work with if that's your comfort zone. I don't do them. I've 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 done them, but I don't do them as a practice. But they definitely are there. And basically, what you can do is enter into an order with a trailing stop and a limit at the same time. So basically, meaning you can submit your order and you can put your trailing stop percentage, and if it, you can set all that up in advance, and um, it'll get you out, so you don't have to worry about it. Not that you have to worry about it anyway, right? And then unclose, the M unclose and L unclose. Oh, market unclose are um, limit unclose. Basically, I don't ever use those, so I'm not even going to talk about them. So, only other one I use is OCO. And I thought the platform had OCO, but I don't see OCO. And that would be a good one. Because an OCO order type is an order type that you can actually set up your stop, your entry, and your target all at once, set it and forget it, and move on about your business. But like I said, if you set all that up all at once, then you are subject due to volatility to get kicked out of your position before you even get into it good. So that's all I'm gonna say about order types. Nobody has to do anything about order types other than tell me the difference between market, limit, and stop. When it's your turn to show me the same thing I'm showing you. All right. So next thing, let's go back to trade tab. So I'm gonna ask price. I'm gonna right click on it, and I'm gonna go create alert. And let's say I haven't put in my stop, um, and I'm coming in at 48. Half of 48 is 24. So I want to know when this particular stock's price gets around, let's say 36. 36. I want to know when the ask price is at or below 36. Let me know, and then I can put a note to myself. Whatever your note is. I'm not very creative right now, right? So I put that in on AMD on the stock. I say, hey, let me know if this stock price, asking price, gets anywhere around $36. I say create. Now, if oh, if I had the TD mobile app or whatever, it'll alert me on my phone. If I don't, then it'll just alert me on my computer, et cetera, et cetera. Right? I can go to Market Watch, alerts, and you see the alert that I just set up. Price condition alert, et cetera, et cetera. Ask below 36, current price 489. It'll alert me, right? You can see that I have an alert on the chart. You can move the alert up and down just like you can move these up and down to change the price. So that's a way to set alert. You can do the same alerting on an option. So you can go to a particular expiration, particular asking price, right click on it, say create alert. Now it's going to create an alert based upon the option price. So I want to know if this thing gets around 325, let me know. Set that. Boom. I do that. Got that alert. I can go back to Market Watch, alert sub tab, and now you see I have two alerts. You can do all kind of alerts. That's the basic stuff, right? You can do alert from the chart. You can right click on the chart, create alert on any symbol under various criteria. I'll let you guys play with that. Now you know alerting. So if I didn't put in my stop, I can set up my alerts at various prices. If I got my mobile app during the course of the day, whatever, if it gets around my thing, then I can go in quickly and do whatever I need to do if I need to do something. I can look at my chart, see how things are going. I can adjust my alerts if it gets annoying, because every time it hits that target, it's going to alert you every single time. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get out or you're going to necessarily do anything, but it will alert you, and alerts can be very helpful or they can be very annoying depending on if they're, effective. All right. So I have just covered items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. High level. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Any questions before I stop recording? Anybody? Are you still there? Everybody went to sleep?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
On
No,
mute.
no questions? All right. Cool. Okay. All right. Then I will stop recording this. Boom. That's 55 minutes. Okay.